Alright folks, welcome back to part 2 of the 6-character fan art challenge thing, whatever it's called. We had, last time, if you'll remember, we had Sonic the Hedgehog, which, where did my, oh, there it is. We had Sonic the Hedgehog. So, next, So next, we're going to move on to the next. How many times can I say next in one sentence? We're going to move on to the next picture, which, if you'll remember from last time, I kept a secret. So, what's the next one going to be? Well, drum roll. There you go. It's Rebecca Cunningham from TaleSpin. That was one of the suggestions that was made to me, which I thought was kind of interesting, because you don't see her very much. I mean, if you do see TaleSpin stuff, it's usually Baloo or Kit or what have you. Don't normally see her. Certainly don't normally get requests for her. Like if it was Baloo, I could understand, but I thought it was kind of interesting, something different to do. And I've never drawn her before. Like this sketch here, you see, right in front of your face. This is my first time ever drawing her, so that's kind of cool. So we're gonna go with her. And gosh, I mean, I hadn't really thought about TaleSpin in what seems like forever. Get a little bit, fade it down. You see, and now you understand why I kept Sonic's eyes separate, because I wanted to make sure that like the way he was looking was good, because the way the sketch was initially, I mean, I'd already tweaked the sketch before I even started, because the way the sketch was initially, he was looking a little bit too far down, and it was not good, because I did each of these sketches separately on a separate sheet of paper, and now I'm aggregating them together. So yeah, little things like that crop up, and you have to adjust accordingly. I also have over here a reference of her, just in case I need it, and I might, because again, it's been forever since I saw this show. She looks a little bit more like happy in this, but I remember more often than not she was kind of peeved off, so I gave her kind of a peeved expression. And all of Baloo and Kit's hijinks. But yeah, her eyebrows are a little bit thicker. That's one of the main things I want to check out. Oh, I'm still on the sketch layer. There's your problem. Let's try fixing that. There we go, that's better. Get a good swoop to it. Sometimes I feel like I'm maybe just a little bit too finicky with, wait, what happened to, autosave time. It's nice that it autosaves, because it keeps me from forgetting to save it, but it also interrupts sometimes, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. But as far as I'm concerned anyway, it's a welcome interruption, because I'd rather have that happen than just lose hours of work, because that would be terrible. And I know, because I'm speaking from experience, because I have had that happen to me before, and it is not happy fun time, I tell you that much right now. So, take what I can get and be happy with it. So, one does not look a gift horse in the mouth. I don't understand that saying. If anyone out there is like a horse person, you have horses or work with horses or something, you can explain to me the origin of that saying, go nuts down there in the description. I don't know if I understand the idea. I mean, I guess when you inspect a horse, you might check its teeth. But the idea is, like, if it's a gift, don't kick the tires, as it were, to put it in different terminology. If it's a gift, if it's free, just accept it and say thank you. And then if it winds up being a dud or whatever, hey, it was a gift, so it's not like it cost you anything. I suppose that's the idea. But then you hear it applied to things that aren't necessarily gifts, but that are just serendipitous in some kind of way. So I don't know. I just don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit of a lag here, which is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. I was having some lag issues last time, but I thought that's just because I needed to reboot the computer. And I did reboot the computer. And I did a test run, not 5 minutes ago. Well, actually, I've been going on for 7 minutes now. So maybe it was more than 5 minutes ago. But it was immediately before I did this. And the test run was not giving me any problems at all. So, of course, now that I'm actually doing the thing, it's going to give me issues. Because that's my life. The world hates me. World hates me. Life hates me. This is just how it is. Okay. You'll notice I'm kind of going with a thicker line this time compared to... That's a little too thick. But compared to last time, I'm going with a thicker line. Because last time, my lines weren't thick enough. And I had to thicken them there at the end, which worked. But I don't want to have to do that again. Dang it, I had a good line about 3 lines ago, and I removed it because I'm an idiot. And now I can't get the line I want. Flip it. There you go. There we go. Smarter than your average bear. Which is fitting, because he's a bear. I mean, different cartoon, but still. It's funny. Back in the day when I used to watch TaleSpin, I didn't actually like her character very much. She was kind of like the bossy, unfun one. But now that I'm older, I understand her more. Like, now I understand that she was just trying to make ends meet and make things work, make things work out the best she could for both her and Baloo and Kit and Molly. Like, she was the responsible one. It was like, it's funny when you're a kid, she's just the, no fun, bossy, whatever, but as an adult, it's like, no, I get her now. Now I understand. Now I understand that she's doing all of this for Baloo and Kit and Molly and all of them. And I understand her exasperation with Baloo. Because Baloo, as great a character as he is, as likable as he is, was, a little bit lazy and a little bit of a screw-up. When you're a kid, Baloo's awesome, Kit's awesome, and she's just, stuffy and angry all the time. But when you're an adult, it reframes the whole entire thing. But I think that's good. I think that's the hallmark of a good cartoon, is that, you can enjoy it as a kid or as an adult, and you get different things out of it. Like, I can watch Looney Tunes now and get life lessons out of that, and, that's not normal, I will grant. I'm probably one of the few people out there that actually takes life lessons from Looney Tunes, but, like Wile E. Coyote and his persistence and tenacity, like, there's a lesson to be learned there about how to stick to things and not give up. There's also a lesson to be learned there about when to give up, like, when is too much too much? When should you cut your losses and just go home? So, like, there's a little bit of both in there. but yeah, my curve's not coming out like I want it to. I don't have quite much to talk about on this one as I did on the Sonic one, because first off, this show's been off the air forever and a day. And unlike things like Looney Tunes, there's been no move, at least not that I'm aware of, to try and bring it back. I think Cape Suzette was like mentioned in passing in the DuckTales reboot, but other than that, I don't think they've actually been there or done anything with it. So I think that was just more like a little Easter egg than anything. I could be wrong. I haven't kept up with that one. I saw the first season, and that's about it. Apparently they've gone ahead and revealed Magica by now. And, like, they hadn't even revealed Magica yet. They had hinted at her, but they hadn't actually, like, she hadn't gotten free of her niece's amulet or whatever that deal was yet. And I've seen artwork and things, and it looks like she's free now. Not that that's exactly a spoiler, because I mean, obviously I knew that was going to happen, but Magica Dispel is one of the main villains in the Scrooge McDuck comics and in DuckTales, the original DuckTales, so, like, of course she's gonna get free and be one of the main villains. After Scrooge's #1 dime. I do miss June Foray and her Popsylvanian accent. But, you know. That's one of those things where, like, I can't blame them for not getting the original voice actor back, because she's gone. Like, they couldn't do that unless they held a seance. Which, I mean, let's be fair, I'm pretty sure Disney, at this point in its at this point in its life, probably has some ties to the dark arts. They probably have a group of hooded necromancers in their basement that they could use, but it would be very difficult to explain that. So, they don't. I mean, I take digs at Disney. Which is maybe not fair. Disney's just not the same as it was in the past. It's a lot less likable, I guess, as a company, as an operation. Like, they still produce some good stuff that I like, but at the same time, they also produce a bunch of garbage that's just basically cash-ins on stuff that they produced in the past that I like. Not to mention the fact that they're buying up everything in the entertainment industry. Let's try that again. They're buying up everything in the entertainment industry that they can get their hot little hands on, which is another little trend that I'm not too happy about. But, you know, it is what it is. I was talking to somebody the other day, it's like, Disney's not as much in the business of making new things anymore as they are in the business of acquiring other things and then running them into the ground, milking them for all they're worth monetarily, and then moving on to something else. You know, because even stuff like what I'm drawing right now, or, you know, other movies and things, for the most part, are things that they made in the past. That, like, the current people at Disney didn't really have anything to do with making. It was people at Disney in the past that had, you know, something to do with making. They do produce some good stuff as far as, like, animated movies are concerned. I mean, obviously Frozen blew up. Tangled was good too. I preferred Tangled to Frozen myself, which is not a dig against Frozen in the least. Frozen was a good movie too. I just don't understand all of the hype Frozen gets because it wasn't that good. Like it wasn't as great as everyone seems to make it out to be. At least I didn't think so. It's a good movie. I liked it, but it just wasn't this huge thing that everyone else was like crazy about. It was just like, yeah, it was okay. It was a good movie. It was interesting. It was definitely, the little twist there and everything was different. And the whole idea of like true love saving the day, like always, but the true love is not necessarily just romantic love. Like that was cool. But then it, because it was the love between the sisters, but like that's been done though. Like they've done other fairy tale type things where it's the whole true love has to saves the day, but then it winds up being true love between like a mother and her kid. That's what they did on what's it called? That show, Once Upon a Time. Yeah, that's what they did on Once Upon a Time, and it worked. Like it worked well. I'm not criticizing it, but they had already done that before Frozen even came out, so like it wasn't that new and original. It was different than like other Disney things up to that point, but it wasn't different from other things we had seen up to that point. And I don't know. Also, everyone identifies with Elsa in that, and it's like me. I like Anna better. Like Elsa was being reckless, and selfish, which is why in the original story, like the book, the myth, is it a book or is it a myth? I think it's a book. It may be both. It may have been a myth, and then it was written into a book, and then that book they turned into a movie. Anyway, point is, the original Snow Queen story, the Snow Queen was actually evil. And I do like what they did with Elsa, making her more of a sympathetic character and having her negative actions be fueled by outside forces and by her own like issues and things. Well, gee, thank you. I really wanted that in my recording. That's fantastic. They did a good job explaining why she was the way she was, and how it wasn't entirely her fault, but at the same time, like, she didn't handle it properly, right? Like, I mean, what she did was endangering the entire kingdom, and she just basically, her Let It Go song is just basically while it is in some ways like a freedom song of like, I'm not gonna, hide away in my room anymore, at the same time, it was like a I don't care anymore kind of song, which was bad because she was wrecking the place, right? Like, I think she gets way too much of a pass for what she did because of her circumstances. I mean, her circumstances explain it, but they don't excuse it, in my opinion. Now, of course, they reconcile it in the end. Within the context of the movie itself, I have no problem. It's how people outside of that treat it. Like Elsa was the antagonist of that movie. I'm sorry. She was. And the whole point of it was that she had to learn, like, her part of learning, because both of the sisters learned. What am I talking about? Frozen while I'm drawing TaleSpin stuff? Well, because it's Disney. But she had to, Anna's growth through that movie was learning to not be quite as naive and trusting of everyone, like Hans, but at the same time, Elsa had her own thing, and she had to learn to not, that having to hide away like they made her do was not the right thing, but that she, still had to be responsible, basically reconciling all of those issues that she had. And they managed to do it. And they managed to put in a little added bonus about sisterly or sibling, just in general, because as far as it like applies to everybody, sibling love, sibling, familial connection and all of that in there too, which is nice. I think perhaps maybe that's another reason that Frozen didn't hit me as hard as maybe it did other people, is because I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings, so I can't relate to that directly. I can relate to it indirectly because I certainly have family that I love, and I have friends that I love to the point, like, as if they were siblings. I have cousins that are probably that I grew up with that are probably the closest to siblings that I have. So I can kind of approximate, I suppose. But that's the best I can manage, is an approximation. I can't really fully relate because I don't have siblings. So I don't know if that actually harms my ability to appreciate that movie or not. But that being said, none of that is to say that I don't like that movie or appreciate it. I liked I liked Tangled better. I thought Tangled was a better movie. Sorry. But anywho, I get this weird feeling like I've talked about that before. I don't know if I've talked about that before. I don't know if I've talked about that before on one of these videos, or if I've talked about it. I know I've talked about it before with like other friends and stuff, but I don't know if I've done it on one of these videos before or not. I'm sorry if I'm being redundant and repeating myself. It's a better swoop. I need a better swoop than that, though. She's got these kind of like baggy, because you can see it better in this picture. She's got these kind of baggy sleeves here. They're kind of large and poofy. Just the style of her jacket. So I kind of want to get a little more poof in that sleeve, and it's not wanting to play nice. Come on. See, I got this nice, good swoop in here, and I see I can't even trace it properly without drawing it, much less drawing it. Like something's kind of, oof, that's close. That's real close. Here, let me adjust that ever so slightly, and I think I might have something there. Rotate. Move my fulcrum back there. Something maybe kind of like that. Oh, so close. Yeah, I'm gonna try and run with that. We'll see how that goes. Let's flip it. Oh, give me my. There we go. Again, I'm probably being way too precise and trying to be way too precise about this, because it probably doesn't matter all that much. But it matters to me, dadgummit. I want it to be as good as possible. Flip it back. Thank you. Alright, and then we'll go here. No, try again. That's good. That'll do. There we go. Maybe? No. Come on. Give me a good swoop. I actually want to take... I think I'll start here. See, notice how it gets like these weird... Okay, now you're not going to do... Now it's not going to prove... Really? I was going to show how it was screwing up, but then it won't... It's doing it right now. Aha! I tricked it. I tricked it into behaving the way I wanted it to. Let's go with that. That's absolutely, positively, exactly what happened. Right? Right? Right. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. This is intentional. Yep. Absolutely. You bet. I'm gonna go with that. That's my line. What is going on out there? I don't know if you could hear that. It sounded like a go-kart, actually. See, this is what happens when you do stuff on a Sunday afternoon. Even though it's, we still have quarantine stuff and everything. Everybody's still treating it like it's a weekend. Which is weird to me, because every day's the weekend right now. I was able to actually go to church today. That was nice. I haven't been able to do that for a while. I tell you what, I did not realize just how much of a difference that made to my schedule. Because, I work from home, so I'm a bit of a homebody. And, but every Sunday, I go to church. And when they stopped doing that for a while there, because of all of the crazy virus stuff, I didn't think it would throw me off as much, but I lost track of what day it was. I lost track of the weeks. Like, it got bad. I remember when May came around, I'm like, what, May? It's May already? How did that happen? I've just been completely out of whack. What the? Oh. You're not supposed to do that. Hang on just a second. I'm having issues. Stop. Thank you. Oh, dagnabbit. So annoying. I thought I turned off. It was an alarm. I thought I had it turned off, but apparently no. I don't have it turned off, and it's going off in the middle of my drawing, and it's annoying! But anyway. But yeah, I didn't realize how much of a difference it made, and it's made a difference not just in my marking of the days, but it also has made a difference in my sleep cycle, because, okay, so since I work from home, I can just pretty much make my own hours and do whatever I want to. So sometimes my sleep cycle gets a little off because I'll work late, because I'm generally inclined towards being more of a night owl than a morning person. And so because of that, I will, pardon me, because I'm more of a night owl than a morning person, I'm inclined to stay up late working on things or doing things and get to bed at an unreasonable hour. And if I do that, then my brain's derailing. If I do that, then it can very quickly start to get my sleep cycle just all out of whack and out of tune and everything. And but because I have church every Sunday and I have to wake up for that, I never get that far off, because every Sunday comes around and it kind of jostles me back into the schedule I need to be in. But again, you take that away, and all of a sudden, like, I'm staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning, and it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to sleep at, like, 7 in the morning, and it's just, it was bad. It got bad there for a little while. So, it's nice to actually have a frame of reference for life again, because that was nuts. So, there weren't as many people there, and they had every other row. I say a row. If you're a church person, pew. But we don't actually have pews. We just have chairs lined up in rows because we're small. It's a small church. We don't have pews. But either way, like, every other row was like roped off so that you couldn't get onto it. in order to keep people apart, but it really wasn't necessary because there was only like 40 people there. But still, I figure there are probably some folks who didn't get the memo that that we were doing that, we were starting up again, because this was the first time we've started up again. So I figure next week will be a little bit more, but it was nice to just be able to go back to some semblance of normalcy there, because that was like the one thing that changed for me. Because other than that, like I've said before, other than that, words, they're not coming to me. I work from home. I'm just kind of a hermit, and so like the quarantine stuff hasn't really affected me that much. As far as like cabin fever or anything like that's concerned. I'm also more of an introverted person, so like not being able to be actually in physical contact with people is not that big a deal to me, honestly. You know, being able to just talk online or whatever is enough for me. I'm not big on necessarily getting together, unless it's people I particularly like, and even then, like small groups is more my speed. There's a reason I go to a small church, and it's because I wouldn't want to go to a big church because there's too many people in one place. I feel like I'm probably not alone in that amongst the artistic types. I've noticed there's a lot of introversion in general amongst artists. I don't know why. I feel like maybe that introverted attitude, lifestyle, whatever, makes people more introspective, which gives them insights maybe that they I don't know. I'm just talking now. It's not making any sense. Okay. She has a really cool sweater. Like the way this bottom part is and everything. And she's got lines here I need to put in after I need to put in her hand. She needs to have two hands, dang it. She's not a complete freak of nature. I'm joking. She's not a freak of nature at all. She's a nice lady. Well, she can be nice when she's not angry. Alrighty. TaleSpin was an interesting show. It was very weird that they chose to use Baloo from the Jungle Book in it, but at the same time it kind of fit because his kind of carefree, bare necessities nature, or not nature, but this sort of carefree, bare necessities attitude in the Jungle Book, it carried over to TaleSpin, and it worked. It made sense. It was completely different. It was like this, I remember the movie, I don't know if anybody else does, it's kind of a cult movie, called The Rocketeer. It had a very similar feel to that, because it felt sort of like that time period, that era, of time, but then at the same time it was like its own fantasy thing. It was, I don't know, it was interesting. I enjoyed it. It was one of my favorites growing up. Actually, try that again. Words is hard. I actually rewatched it a few years back. And like I said, I realized I had developed a newer appreciation for Rebecca. Beckers, as Baloo would call her. And she wasn't really as awful and terrible as I remembered. Again, it's amazing the perspective. It's amazing the difference a little perspective makes. Because when I was a kid, she was just a meanie head. But now that I'm an adult, no. Like, she was the responsible one. She was the one who actually knew what she was doing. Well, actually, I don't know if she knew what she was doing, but she was trying, at least. Rebecca Cunningham on TaleSpin is the perfect example of trying your best to figure out how to adult. And she didn't always get it right, and she made mistakes, but she always did her best, and I do appreciate that, because in a lot of kids media, either adults are treated like idiots, and the kids are all the smart ones, which I guess kids like, or adults are, portrayed as authority figures that have it all together and are, sources of wisdom and guidance and everything like that. And I feel like maybe that's a little bit more like reality to some extent, but it's also not true. Because adults we don't have it together. When you're a kid, you think, when you're a kid, you think your parents, know everything and they can do it. I say when you're a kid. You get teenager, and then all of a sudden your parents know nothing, but that's a whole nother ball of wax. But when you're a kid, like your teenagers know, your parents rather. I'm putting too many words in my brain and they're not coming out right. But when you're a kid, your parents, they know everything and they're on top of everything and they get it and they're so smart and they're the adults and they get to do whatever they want, blah 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 blah. And then you get older and you realize, no. Your parents were winging it just as much as you're winging it now. They had no clue. Ooze. Why did I get a U instead of a Y? Oh, because they're right next to each other on the keyboard, that's why. Well, that explains it at least. Alright. Get her eyeballs in there. Oh yeah. Do I have multiple referring on? Yes, I do. That means that it will take all of the lines into consideration. I also took the sketch into consideration. I didn't want it to do that. There we go. I can actually put the sketch away now. I don't need the sketch anymore. Her eyes look a little thicker than the rest of her, but I can fix that. I can fix it. It'll be fine. It'll work. Don't worry. Okie doke. So there we go. We've got her. She's drawn. Rebecca Cunningham. Beckers. Now I gotta go in and color this thing. And this, I feel like the colors on this thing are just a little bit too oversaturated. So I'm not gonna color pick that exactly, rather instead I'm going to just kind of I'm going to try to kind of approximate the color. No, it's too dark for sure. I might color pick and then adjust. That might make life easier. Yeah, there we go. Put a little bit, because she needs her fur needs to be a little browner than that. That looks a little too orange for some reason. I feel a little better about that. I feel like that's too dark, though. Let me lighten it up and then pull the saturation down. And yeah, that looks about right. It's all very much just kind of hit and miss. Okay. Then these parts here, Again, I feel like we tone down just a little bit, made it look a little bit more. Yeah, see, that's way too yellowy orange, and it needs to be more brown. So I need to probably do this. That's too dark. No. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, that's about right. I had pulled up some other screenshots and references and things, and on actual like screenshots of the show, it looked a little bit more like this. Actually, honestly, I think that her fur itself needs to be a little bit darker. Not much, just a bit. Yeah, there we go. That's it, right there. Interesting fact, if you look up Rebecca Cunningham on like Google image search or whatever, you will obviously find this character, but you will also find a lot of just random ladies who apparently have that name because Rebecca Cunningham is like, it's a real name. Which I find unsurprising, but I do find interesting. Do like that, and then she's got the darker bands here. It's interesting how they did that. And now we're talking. We're at least getting somewhere now. Again, that's a little too pink. Her actual thing is a little bit more of a red color too. Yeah, that's good. Like that. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. And then her. The edges of this. Yeah, that's it. Can I get in there? Yep, sure can. Can get there too. There we go. And then that kind of just kind of grayish off-white, I think is fine. I don't think I need to adjust that any. I also think the pants color is fine. I need to go down here and turn this off though. And go over here. And no. Something like that. This will do something kind of like that, just to cut it off there. And the reason for that is that, as you can see with the lines there and stuff, in the final thing, I may decide that I want to like adjust it and scoot her up a little, so that she like cuts or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just leave that there. I might actually, now that I think about it, in case I do that, I should probably go in here with my black again and go into the ink layer and just go ahead and kind of, put a little more detail on her pants like that. Just in case I do wind up, that's not quite right. There we go, that's better. Just in case I do wind up including more of her hips in the picture. I don't know if I will or not, but sometimes it's best to draw a little bit more than you think you're gonna need, because then, it'll at least give you a little bit of room for adjusting, so I can decide how high or low I want her to be. and she'll still have, you know, some detail down there, so it won't look weird like there's just a purple blob below her waist and that's it. Because no, she has legs for walking. And that's just what they'll do. I'm going to do the same thing I did on Sonic, and I am going to fill in my white space. Well, maybe I am. Gotta go to the color layer. Derp. I'm going to fill in my white spaces with a gray color here, just to make sure I get all of the spaces filled. As you can see up here, you get in close and you can see some places where it didn't go. Also with some of the other colors too. Pointy parts are sometimes a point of contention. The fill tool in Clip Studio here is far better than it is in Photoshop, and it's definitely better than Paint. Like, we don't even talk about Paint. Paint is a joke and always has been. Paint is for people that don't know how to work a graphics program. Though I do use it to save screenshots sometimes. Paint. Rather than pull it in here. Just simply because of the fact that Paint takes a whole lot less memory space. So if I'm doing something else and I just want to save a screenshot, it's easier just to hit print screen, pull it up in Paint, go paste, and just save it. But that's like the only time I'll ever use Paint, is something like that. Alright, let's see here. Some that in there. Okay, looks touched up. I'm gonna scoot over here and look at her nose. And she went to do it. I guess I did my nose a little bit different, but not too different, I don't think. Get a little bit darker in there, not go quite full black, but close. And then we'll go ahead and suck up. No, that is a little bit there. That needs okay. I'll go ahead and suck up the pure white, and I will remove the ink layer entirely, and I will just dump some pure white. Oh, that's too much, I'm sure. I need the ink layer as a barrier. Okay. Hang on. There we go. Grab a little bit of this. There. Just a little bit of disconnect there. Alright. There we go. She's colored up. She's all colored in now. And as you know, I don't need her ref anymore. Ref is short for reference. In case you wondered why that's called ref. It's not a referee. She's not, you know, keeping order. Alright. Copy this. Save it as shot as, which is a really terrible way to pronounce shades. Let's save it because, hey, save and save often, right, kids? This is how you don't lose work, because losing work is never fun. You don't want to do that if you can help it. Okay, there we go. So we got that, and then alright, shades, and then we need to take this, edit, tonal correction, brightness / contrast. We take the brightness down a bit. I feel like the contrast needs to go down a bit too. Yeah, that's better. Something kind of like that. Hit OK. And then we do I want to multiply this thing? I feel like this one might want to multiply. No, that's too much. Just go back to normal again. Add a layer, a mask layer specifically, and then because I learned last. Actually, no, this is different. Let's do this. Make it a little bit bigger, 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 bigger. There we go. Just kind of lay down the basics like this. In her ear, and her arms, and then the rest of it like that. And maybe her hair just a little bit. Kind of the basic shapes with the big broad strokes, as they say. Except, you know, it's literally broad strokes. And then we go in a little closer and we get more detail on it. Like this. Oh, dang it. No, I didn't want... I didn't mean to hit that. Come on. There we go. Something like this. A little bit bigger here. There we go. Again, not a little bit. A little bit smaller for her hands. She's got small hands. She has dainty hands. Okay, come on. Nope. Nope. That's better. Okay. Like that. This is, I'm talking good. Sometimes I just get to the point where I'm focusing on something and I don't really say much. Most of the time I don't say much at all. Most of the time I just draw and just don't comment on it or anything. Unless I happen to have an audience, in which case, like, if someone will ask me a question, I'll say something. But even then, I'm usually just really quiet, and I just focus on what I'm doing. But that doesn't make for a good YouTube video. No, no, no. I gotta keep flapping my gums for these things. So, yeah. What are you gonna do? It's the medium. But sometimes, even then, it's like, okay, you know what? I want to have a good result here, so I need to shut up and just do my thing, and the YouTube viewers can just deal. They can just deal with it, I guess. Alright. It's not too shabby. I feel like I might want to go in here with this now. And maybe touch up some of the darker areas. Work on the shadows maybe a little bit more. And maybe part of the light too. Like her chin there. I feel like maybe I have a little bit more going on here as well. Then go back to shadows. And do that. Kind of with her cheek there. There we go. It's kind of interesting. Her underneath her eyebrow. Well, also get her eyebrow a little bit too. And then, of course, in here, in her inside of her ear, some shadow up in there as well. Her hair. Such a very interesting hairdo that they gave her. Like this thing that's going on up here. It's very interesting. The good kind of interesting. Like it gives a lot of visual things to it's visually stimulating, I guess. I don't know. That didn't sound right. I feel like that's not the type of... I feel like that's not really what I wanted to say. But yeah, it's something that it's interesting. It's interesting to look at. Which, of course, you want your characters to be interesting to look at. Let's see here. Trying to figure out what else now. I was looking if there were a lot of water doing these things. Believe it or not, I don't talk very often. Or very much. I mean, I guess I talk as often as most people, just not as... when I do talk, I just don't say as much. I'm not a big talker. So when I sit here and I do something like this, my mouth gets very dry. Because it's not used to being used this much. My mouth's like, what are you doing to me, man? You don't do this with me. What is this? I don't know how to... Please, no. I confuse my own mouth. That is my talent. That is my gift. I can confuse my own mouth. Put that one on your business card. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. Alright, I feel pretty good about that. I feel... And just a little bit of shading to her, lapel, I guess that would be? Yeah, lapel. Her lapel. No. There we go. My shading was just a little off and it looked kind of weird. But then again, I'm a little off and I look kind of weird, so what do you want? Yeah, no. Nope. Try again. Just come like this, just kind of get a little bit more shadow there. Add a little more depth to it, and then flip it around. Add a little bit of a highlight to her fingers, like so. And then to this part of her wrist there. Okay, I feel alright about this. One thing I feel like it needs, though, that's not really necessarily here, is I need to go in here and I need to have some shadow from her hair on her forehead. Because she has very large hair up here. Yeah, okay, there we go. That's a little bit more like it. My line that I got there is a little bit harder than I'd like, so I'm going to kind of soften it up by doing this. There we go. This part here I actually do want kind of harder because it's closer to her forehead. Like this is up here is what's casting the shadow down here, and so the shadow itself needs to be a little more diffuse, whereas like here, this is what's casting the shadow here, so it's just like it's right there, so the shadow needs to be a little harder and less diffuse. There's some shading technique advice for you. Think whenever you're doing drop shadows, think about how close whatever's dropping the shadow is to the surface the shadow's being dropped on. And the more close that proximity, the harder the shadow's going to be. The further away, the softer and more diffuse that shadow will be. With rare exception. Like if there's really bright, hard light, almost all the shadows will be very hard shadows. And the contrary is true as well. If it's really soft light or really dim light, then almost all of your shadows are going to be very very diffuse as well. Depends on your light source and how direct it is. Like if you're outside in direct sunlight, you're going to have a lot more hard shadows. But if you're outside and in like an overcast type situation, then you're dealing more with ambient light rather than direct light from the sun, and so your shadows are going to all be a lot more diffuse. And then again, the proximity rule also applies. So many things you got to think about when you're doing something like this. And really, honestly, like this, It's a nice shading, but it's not like it's not that complex. I could get a lot more in depth. In depth. That is terrible. With the shading if I wanted to, but this is just kind of a simple thing. It's cartoony, so I'm not going too nuts with this. Yes, that's right, kids. This is me not going too nuts with it. If you want to see what is me going nuts with it, here, let me save this for a second because that's just smart thinking. Writing the file. Okay. What is me going nuts with it is something like, oh, hey, look, there's the picture that I grabbed. I shouldn't have had that running. That could have slowed things down. Yeah, Ariel here. That's what happens when I really go nuts with all of the like shine and all of the little underwater lighting effects and things and the scales and yeah. This is what I did for a mermaid. This is your bonus. You weren't expecting this, but here you are. Anyhow. She's my desktop right now, obviously. Edit. I really liked it. I liked all the underwater effects. It turned out really well, so I kind of decided to put it there. Tonal correction, brightness, contrast. So now I'm going to do the highlights, so we brighten things up. Again, we're going to cut the contrast down a little bit. And we're going to hit OK. And this time, things are going to be a little bit different. Because rather than erasing out the stuff that we don't want, this time around, we want to erase everything and then color back in the parts we want. So we're going to do that. And we're going to pick invisibility. And we're going to dump it. Oh, wait, no. I done messed up. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, actually didn't take it. Looks like I didn't tap it hard enough. Thank goodness. Because I need to put a mask in it. Oh, wait, no. I forgot it auto masks if you've got, okay. Selection, invert selected area. If we're going to do that, then fine. I will take advantage of the auto mask that way. Whatever. As long as I get what I need, I'm a happy camper. Okay. So go over here. Needs... Oh, no. Other one. There we go. Let's use white just because that's more natural. There we go. Look at that. Now we're getting some... Now we're getting somewhere. That feels a little too bright. Let's make it a little let's make it a little more subtle. Yeah, that's good. This like that. Bring it around here. Got her shoulder, her arms, the front of her sweater edge thing, whatever you want to call it, her leg, like so. Just be very, just a little bit, just be very, very subtle with it, like this. And then, what I'm gonna do is I am gonna, also the top of her snout, I guess it would be, muzzle, snout, whatever you want, whatever it's called. And then down here, might actually lighten that up just a little bit. I also might put a little bit on the eyes. That. And then I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do the backlighting. Adds a nice little sense of 3D to it. Makes it feel like it's in an actual space. instead of in a void, because you've got like backlight that's reflecting off of the ground or the surroundings and stuff, so it's not just one light source, but you've got a little bit of backlighting too, just to really give it that extra sense of, you know, like I said, of existing in a 3D space. Not just being 3D itself, but also existing in a 3D space. And let's see here. Let's actually just flipper for this. I feel like I'm going to get a better result from this. Oh, I forgot about Wildcat. The mechanic. Oh, he was funny. He just came... I don't know what made me think about him. I mean, it couldn't be the fact that I'm drawing a TaleSpin character, but I don't know what made me think about him specifically, and all of a sudden. But, oh, he was hilarious. Him with all of his crazy ideas. He wasn't the brightest. He wasn't the brightest tool in the shed, but at the same time, like, he wasn't incompetent. He was good at the mechanical things, and he was actually surprisingly insightful sometimes. To the point of being like everybody was kind of surprised that whenever he said something that was actually halfway intelligent or smart, and everyone's like, what? Wildcat, wait, Wildcat's right? What? What is this? What black magic is this? Wildcat's right? Yeah, that was fun. I forgot about Wildcat. Wildcat was great. Man, this was a fun show. I wonder if it's on Disney Plus, because a lot of the old shows are on Disney Plus now. If it is, and you have Disney Plus, go watch TaleSpin. You will not be disappointed. It was a fun show. And also, in a way, kind of like the closest I think we'll ever get to having an animated Indiana Jones. Because there was certain, like, they took some inspiration from that, I feel like. But they also made it their own thing too, by also adding in all of the the aviation type things. It was like a mishmash of your Indiana Jones type stuff and like the old school aviator stuff. It was just interesting. It was very interesting. It was just very interesting thematically. It was very interesting in regards to stories they told and the characters and everything. And like I said, as an adult now, you appreciate certain things in ways that you just did not appreciate them before. Like Rebecca trying to hold everything together with spit and duct tape and keep higher for higher from going under. And supporting herself and Baloo and Kit and Molly. Because she was a single parent having to take care of Molly, her daughter, and then like Kit was very much like an adoptive son to her, and then Baloo I guess in a way was kind of an adoptive father figure to the kids. I don't know that they ever really explored any kind of romantical relationship between her and Baloo. That really kind of didn't happen, but there was still definitely mutual respect and care there. Perhaps it would have been better to equate them to like brother and sister, like how you might have if you had a brother or sister and you had kids like that. They might help raise the kids. I don't remember if they ever said what happened to her husband, whoever was the dad, but I seem to think that I think there were some. I think they did touch on it a little bit with Molly and having to deal with it. You know, that's not what I intended to do, but I have an idea. I have an idea. Hang on. It's crazy, but it just might work. I'm going to take this. I'm going to do a hard line like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. What? No, not quite that. Do. Like, this is not how I was intending on doing it originally, but I think I'm onto something. I'm going to go to my watercolors. I feel like I want this one. Be careful, because I have to fit the curvature of her hair. That doesn't work quite as well as I would like, so I'm gonna undo that. Come on. It's a lot of undos, huh? Alright, let's go straight up for this again. I still want to do that, what I was trying to do there, but I think it's better if I use the airbrush. I will get better results when I go back in with the with the watercolor, like I was trying to do there. Just do like that, and then watercolor, and yeah, that's better. It gives it a nice hair texture here. I assume this is how her hair would go, like the way that it would, the direction it would go, given the bands here that are in her hair, the colored bands. I feel like that's indicative of the direction that her hair is. Like it's pulled back into like a, I don't even know what you would call that. I don't know enough about hairdos to know what that would even be called. But it's there, and it's a thing. And she wears her hair that way, so there you go. Maybe if there's some gal out there watching this that knows more about hairdos, specifically women's hairdos, than I do, maybe you can tell me what this hairdo is that Rebecca has. It's interesting. I like it, but I have no clue what it would be called. It does seem to be a very 20s style kind of do. So 20s, 30s kind of the time period that they were pulling from. And we lost sound there for a second. But we're back. We're back. I don't know why. Oh, no, don't. There we go. Put a little bit more of this in here. Like that. Maybe add a little bit more here. There we go. That's better. And we'll flip it back around. Make it easier for my hand in the direction I want to go. Get a better flow. There we go. See, and that gives it a nice kind of hair-like texture, which is cool. That was bad. Undo that. Give me this instead. See if it gives it that nice kind of like sheen that hair has to it. Makes it a lot more believable as hair. I also want to go ahead and take this. I feel like this part here is just a little too bright. Part of that I think is the contrast, because that's a little darker anyway, because it's in the shadow. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just like tone this down just a little bit so it isn't quite as bright. And I think that's going to be good. Yeah. There we go. I think we're done. I need to adjust where she's at here just a little bit. Nice part about putting all of each character in their own individual folder here is that I can... Beckers! I can take it and I can move the whole thing together. It's kind of like having it pre-grouped. I can just kind of adjust and like center her where I want her. That looks about right. That fills the space nicely. And then later on I'll go in like I did here with Sonic. I'll just throw in a simple background. And whoa, whoa, what is happening? Oh, recovery. Okay, now that's really annoying because I'm just getting ready to save it right now. Oh. It did make me realize one thing, though. One thing I'm missing. We add one more layer, and we're going to call it Shine. And we're going to just use white, and the white, like this. And I need to put the shine on her eyes. And then maybe just a little bit on her nose here, like this. Come on. Make it just a little bigger. There we go. That's what I'm after. Right there. That's it. Maybe add a little bit more of a blur to this end. There we go. That's good. Just tiny little touch. Tiny little touches like that that make all the difference. See, there it is. With and without. Without and with. See? Just tiny little thing makes a world of difference. Okay. And now we're done. Just going to do it. And like I said, I'll color in the back. I'll just, do a basic fill in the background. And I'll probably put a mask on it to cover up her legs. And that'll be that. So, there we go. There we have it. Another character in the Six FanArt thing. So, until the next one, what's number 3 gonna be? Well, maybe you'll find out later. Maybe you'll find out now. I don't know. Maybe I'll flash it real quick. Oh, it didn't. I was gonna. Yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I'm gonna turn it on real quick. Nope, it didn't load. Well, you don't get to find out. I couldn't do it quite quick enough. So you're just gonna have to wait. So until next time, do all the things that YouTube likes so that this gets seen by people, I guess, and have a good time. Take care of yourselves while you're still in the quarantine. We're starting to come out of it, but it's not going to be an overnight thing, so just, take care of yourselves, keep yourselves safe and healthy, and until next time, adios.